Chosen one, there is a hidden countdown happening right now. You can't hear it, and most of the world can't feel it. Not even some of the most perceptive prophets can hear it, but God can. And He's calling you to pause. This isn't just any moment. It's a divine moment with an urgency that you may not even realize yet. The timer is closer to 0 than you think. But the countdown isn't marking the end of the world. It's marking the end of this particular season of your life. This is a critical moment, and God has pulled you out of your busy day to remind you that you are walking towards something that once passed will never come back. It's a window that's been open for months or perhaps years, but it's about to close. Once that door shuts, it doesn't reopen. This isn't a punishment from God. It's simply the way seasons work. Boundaries are set in place for a reason, and this boundary is standing in front of you, waiting for you to take a step back, pause, and make the choice that will determine your next steps. If you keep walking full speed ahead without pausing, you're going to collide with something you can't see yet. Your spirit is already picking up on it. That's why you're here reading this feeling that pull to stop. Your soul is screaming, stop, turn around, there's another way. What may feel like just another thought, another feeling is in fact the divine alert that you are about to cross into a moment of decision that will change everything. This pause isn't about taking a simple break. It's much deeper than that. It's not about pressing pause on your life for a few minutes and getting back to the grind. It's about taking a step back and realigning yourself with the divine purpose that God has carefully orchestrated for you. This is a vital step in your spiritual journey, one that will protect you from making irreversible decisions that could lead to the wrong relationships, the wrong career, and ultimately a false version of your identity. If you don't pause, you might find yourself on a collision course with these things, and the consequences could be long-lasting. The relationships that seem harmless, even ideal, may actually be steering you further away from your true calling. The career opportunities that seem promising might be leading you down a path of fulfillment that's temporary, not eternal. And the identity you've been building, shaped by others' expectations and the world's standards, could be at risk of becoming a shadow of the person God intended for you to be. But this moment, this pause, is a chance to step back, listen, and redirect yourself before you reach a place of no return. I'm calling you to act now. This is the moment to take a pause, to say yes to God and trust His plan. I want you to stop right now before you scroll away or move on to the next thing, and make a decision that will set the course for your next steps. I'm inviting you to subscribe to this channel, not just for the content, but for yourself. This message is for you, chosen one. Hit that like button if something in your spirit is already stirring, recognizing that this word is speaking directly to you. And comment the word pause. By typing it, you're making a decree, a declaration before the spiritual realm that you are ready to obey, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels uncomfortable. When you do this, you're signaling to God that you're ready to follow His lead, to step into a space where His purpose for your life can unfold, without the distractions, confusion, or noise that has been keeping you from hearing Him clearly. Stay with me for the next 40 minutes, because what you're about to hear will reveal 3 collision courses that you've been unknowingly heading toward and how to avoid them. You'll also understand why you've been spiritually numb, and you'll receive a 3-stage framework that will recalibrate your entire trajectory, realigning you with God's plan for your life. The most critical information will come in the final 15 minutes. Don't rob yourself by leaving early. This is a divine moment, and everything you need is here waiting for you to pause, trust, and act. The countdown has been ticking for a long time now, and while you may not be able to hear it or see it, your spirit can. This invisible countdown is not just some random sequence of moments passing by. It's a divine timing carefully orchestrated by God, marking the end of a season in your life. You may not even realize it, but you've been living in the open window of opportunity, one that has been open for months, even years. It's a window that was carefully placed for you by God, one that allowed you to step into your purpose, to grow, to learn, and to position yourself for the breakthroughs that were meant to come. But now that window is closing, and the consequences of missing it are greater than you can fully comprehend right now. You're heading toward a door that is slowly shutting, and as it does, it's vital that you understand the gravity of this moment. This isn't just any moment of your life. This is a divine season, one that has been set apart for a purpose far greater than you can see in your current understanding. It's a moment where the choices you make will reverberate through the next chapter of your life. And as this window starts to close, you can feel it in your spirit, that restlessness rising within you. Your soul is not at peace, and it's not because of anxiety or uncertainty. It's because something in you knows that you're about to cross into a space where your decisions will matter more than ever before. Your spirit is restless for a reason, and that reason is divine. The window of opportunity that has been open for you is about to close, and you're being urged to step through before it's too late. But why now? Why is this season of pause so urgent? The answer lies in the divine order of time. God has a plan for you that has been unfolding since the beginning of time itself. He has placed you on a path that, if you stay aligned with His will lead to a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and destiny. But the door that is closing isn't a punishment. It's not some cruel test designed to trip you up. It is simply the boundary set by God for a specific season. And as much as it feels like the right thing to do to keep moving forward, to keep pushing through, the truth is that God has set this boundary to protect you from heading in the wrong direction. It's not about keeping you from something good. It's about guiding you towards something greater. God's plan is never to punish you, but to elevate you into the fullness of His purpose for your life. The closing of this door signifies the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, and the choice is now yours. Do you keep walking toward the door as it closes, or do you pause, reflect, and reposition yourself to step into the next phase of your divine destiny? Even though the countdown is invisible, your spirit has been aware of it for some time now. You may not have understood why you've felt restless or uncertain, why the things you once found comfort in now seem distant or irrelevant. Your soul has been feeling the pull of this moment long before your mind could grasp it. You've been heading toward a door that's closing, and your spirit has been trying to get your attention, urging you to pause, to take a step back and recalibrate. There's a divine urgency in your spirit, not because of fear or doubt, but because your soul knows what is at stake. You've been walking full speed toward a decision, a choice, or a direction that isn't aligned with God's best for you. And the deeper you go, the more disconnected you feel from the peace that once anchored you. That sense of unease you've been feeling, that's not anxiety, it's spiritual alarm. It's the call to stop, to slow down, and to listen closely. Your spirit has been trying to alert you that you're approaching a moment that will define the next chapter of your life. And if you don't heed the call to pause now, the consequences will follow you long into your future. The door that is closing is not just a door to a season. It's the door to a future that will either align with the divine calling on your life or lead you down a path that may be good but isn't God's best. In the midst of this urgency, it's important to understand the difference between God's plan and human urgency. From a human perspective, it's easy to feel as though time is running out, that you're falling behind, or that you need to hurry before you miss your chance. Society tells you to keep moving forward, to push through, to never stop until you've reached your destination. But God's plan operates differently. His timing is not bound by human clocks. He doesn't rush you into decisions. Instead, He asks you to trust Him enough to pause, to listen to His voice, and to trust that His timing will always be perfect. The urgency you feel is not because you are running out of time, it's because you are being called to pause at the exact right moment to recalibrate and realign with His purpose. Human urgency pushes you toward quick fixes, hasty decisions, and surface-level solutions, but God's timing works on a different scale. It may feel like you're being held back, but in reality, God is positioning you for something greater. The closing door isn't a sign of failure. It's an invitation to realign and step into the fullness of what He has for you. The boundaries that God sets for your seasons are not limitations. They are divine protections designed to guide you toward His best. So as the door begins to close, don't panic. Trust that God's plan is not limited by time, and He will always open the right doors at the right moment. His boundaries are there to guide you, not to constrain you. The countdown is a sign that you are entering a new phase, one that will lead you closer to the destiny you were created for. But in order to step into that future, you need to pause now. Listen to the still small voice of God, and let His plan unfold in His timing, not yours. The timing of this season is more crucial than you might realize. The window that's closing represents a divine opportunity to step into the next phase of your life, but only if you choose to pause now. The spiritual urgency you feel is God's invitation to realign with His plan before it's too late. The door that is closing isn't a punishment or a mistake. It's a boundary set by God for your protection and elevation. If you're feeling restless or uncertain, that's your spirit sensing the transition. Trust in this moment, because the consequences of ignoring this divine pause will reverberate long into the future. Your soul is crying out for you to stop, to listen, and to make the right decision. And now is the time to obey. You feel it, don't you? That stirring in your soul, that gnawing sense that something is off, but you can't quite pinpoint it. It's a feeling that lingers in the background, almost like an undercurrent pulling at you, but it's not loud enough for the world to notice. This restlessness you're experiencing is not just random anxiety. It's not the result of stress or external pressure. It's something much deeper, divine promptings. Your soul is trying to communicate with you. It's as if your spirit knows something is coming, something crucial that you need to address before it's too late. This feeling isn't a sign that you're failing or that something is wrong with you. It's a signal that you are being spiritually awakened, called to stop, to reflect, and to redirect your course. There's a divine urgency in this moment, and it's not there by accident. God is pulling you back, asking you to pay attention to something far more important than your daily distractions. This is a moment of spiritual clarity, even if it feels uncomfortable. It's a wake-up call, a chance to align yourself with what God is about to do in your life. But first, you need to recognize it for what it is. Not anxiety, but divine prompting, a call to pause and listen. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that restlessness is a sign of weakness or instability. We've been taught to push through feelings of discomfort, to ignore that nagging sense that something isn't quite right. The world encourages us to power through, to medicate our discomfort with distractions, to numb ourselves with busyness, so we don't have to face the deeper questions. But this restlessness you feel right now is God's way of speaking to you. It's His invitation to stop and turn around. It's a divine nudge telling you that there's more happening beneath the surface of your life than what you see with your natural eyes. This isn't a fleeting feeling, a passing thought to ignore. This is God tapping on your shoulder, whispering to your soul that something is off, and that now is the time to listen. The voice of your soul, the one that has been buried beneath layers of distraction and confusion, is crying out to you. It's urging you to pause, to step back, and to hear God's voice clearly above the noise. It's not just a gentle nudge, it's a calling. Your spirit has been waiting for this moment, longing to break free from the fog of indecision and misalignment. You've been spiritually numb for too long, but now God is waking you up. This restlessness is a divine alarm, signaling that you are at a critical junction. And if you don't listen now, you risk walking into a future that isn't meant for you, one that leads you away from your true calling. This moment of restlessness is not just about a vague feeling of discomfort. It's a direct invitation to address the 3 collision courses that are coming into focus right now. You're standing at a crossroads, and each path has its own consequences. The first collision course lies in your relationships. You might be involved in a relationship that on the surface seems perfect. Everyone around you celebrates it, and everything feels good in the moment. But there's something in your spirit, something you can't ignore, that tells you this relationship is not leading you to where you need to go. It's a relationship that feels right to everyone else, but deep down, you know it's misaligned with God's plan for your life. It's like the story of a beta timeline. You're walking down a path that looks blessed, even comfortable, but it's not your path. It's someone else's destiny. And as long as you stay in this relationship, you're locking yourself out of the alpha timeline, the one God specifically designed for you. You're being invited to pause and reassess. Are you choosing what looks good? Or are you choosing what is God's best for you? The restlessness in your soul is warning you that the relationship you're in may not be as it seems. It's not just about the obvious toxic relationships that drain you. It's about the ones that seem perfect on paper, but are quietly preventing you from stepping into the fullness of your divine calling. And the second collision course is in your career and purpose. You may be facing an opportunity that seems too good to pass up. A job offer, a promotion, a new business venture, all the signs point to success, and everyone around you is cheering you on. But despite all the logical reasons to move forward, something inside you hesitates. Your gut twists in discomfort, and you can't shake the feeling that this opportunity, while good, isn't the right one for you. It's the wrong timeline, the wrong fit for your divine calling. You're being offered success, but not the success that aligns with God's plan for your life. God is calling you to pause and reflect. Is this job really a step toward your calling, or is it just a distraction from your true purpose? The world often values achievement and status, but God values alignment with His will. The restlessness you feel is a signal that something is off, that the door you're about to walk through isn't the door that leads you to your true destiny. You're being urged to trust God's timing and step back from the rush to make a decision. The temptation to take the path of least resistance, to accept what looks good but isn't best, is strong. But the pause you're being asked to make will save you from walking down a path that could lead to a dead end in your career and calling. The third collision course lies within yourself, your identity. You've been on a journey of self-discovery, but the restlessness in your soul is calling you to a deeper level of understanding. You may have become so caught up in the pressures of life, the expectations of others, and the demands of the world, that you've lost sight of who you truly are. Your true identity has been hidden beneath layers of compromise, fear, and false beliefs. This is where the restlessness is the loudest. It's a cry from your spirit telling you that the person you've been becoming is not the person God created you to be. This collision course is the most dangerous because it's internal. You might not see it at first, but it's the one that shapes every other aspect of your life. When you don't know who you are, when you're living out a false identity, every decision you make is rooted in that misalignment. The restlessness you feel is the signal that you're about to collide with a version of yourself that is not the real you. It's time to pause, to dig deeper, and to rediscover who you truly are in Christ. Your true identity, the one God called you to walk in, has been buried under layers of compromise, hurt, and fear. But this is the moment for you to step into the fullness of your true self. These three collision courses, relationships, career, and identity, are all interconnected. They're all leading you toward a critical choice, a moment where you have to decide whether to keep walking down a path that may look good but isn't aligned with God's purpose for you, or to pause, listen, and choose the path that leads to the fullness of your calling. The restlessness you feel is not just discomfort. It's the divine warning that you're headed toward a collision. But this is also a moment of great opportunity. You have the power to choose to realign yourself with God's best and to step into the life He has designed for you. The pause you're being asked to make is not a delay. It's the protection you need to avoid the collisions that are coming. So choose wisely. Trust the restlessness, trust the divine urgency, and pause. God is calling you to stop, turn around, and heed the inner warning. There's something better waiting for you, and this pause is the moment that will change everything. When the first collision course is in your relationships, you've likely found yourself in a relationship that seems perfect on the surface. It's the kind of connection that looks right to everyone around you. Your friends approve, your family is supportive, and from an external perspective, everything is falling into place. It feels comfortable, even reassuring. The conversation flows. The connection seems effortless, and there are moments of joy and peace that make you feel like you've found something worthwhile. But beneath the surface, something is not aligning. Deep down, there's a feeling quiet but insistent that something is off. It's hard to put into words, but your spirit knows that this relationship, despite all the outward appearances of perfection, is not leading you to the life God has planned for you. The false sense of security is just that, a feeling of safety that masks a deeper misalignment. While everything may feel fine in the moment, this relationship is actually steering you away from your true destiny, from the person God has called you to be. And here lies the danger. The restlessness you've been feeling is your soul recognizing that though this connection may seem perfect, it's not the one meant for you in this season of your life. This misalignment isn't always obvious. It's not the blatant toxicity or the explosive conflict that usually signals a problematic relationship. No, this one is more subtle. This relationship doesn't drain you in the traditional sense, and it may even be full of love and affection. But what it does quietly and over time is pull you out of alignment with your higher calling. It's not a bad relationship, it's just not the right one. This is where the concept of the beta timeline comes in. You see, there are two versions of your future running parallel right now, the alpha timeline and the beta timeline. The alpha timeline is the one God has specifically designed for you. Every relationship, every opportunity, every moment is perfectly aligned with who He has called you to be. It's the path where your true purpose unfolds, where the doors that lead you to your destiny are opened at exactly the right time. And then there's the beta timeline. This isn't a bad timeline. It's not full of sin or destruction. In fact, the beta timeline is blessed. It's the path that looks good, that feels comfortable, and that promises happiness and success. You'll experience joy, fulfillment, and even material prosperity there. But it's not your timeline. The beta timeline is someone else's path designed for a future that isn't uniquely yours. And this is where the collision occurs. The relationship you're in, though it seems perfect, is a part of the beta timeline, a road that may lead you to a blessed life, but not the best life. The life that God has specifically designed for you. Choosing between the beta timeline and the alpha timeline is not an easy decision, and it's one that will require you to look beyond the surface level of what's comfortable. The wide road is the path that everyone celebrates, the one that seems the most obvious, the one that feels good and makes sense on the outside. But Jesus himself warned us about this road. In Matthew 7, he said, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it." Most people think of the wide road as a path of sin and rebellion. But in this context, it's not about wickedness. It's about choosing good over God's best. The wide road is easy. It's familiar, predictable, and comfortable. It's the road that leads to a life that looks fine, but misses the deeper fulfillment that only God's plan can offer. The narrow gate, on the other hand, is the harder choice. It's the one that doesn't make sense to everyone else. It's the one that leads you to a life of purpose, fulfillment, and alignment with God's will, but it requires sacrifice. It means walking away from relationships, opportunities, and even comfort, all because you know that God has something greater waiting for you. The narrow gate requires the willingness to be misunderstood, to choose obedience over approval, and to walk away from what looks good in order to step into what is divinely aligned for you. This is the path that leads to your destiny. The decision to choose the alpha timeline over the beta timeline isn't just about avoiding the wrong relationships. It's about making hard choices. These choices are not always popular, and they are often misunderstood by those around you. People may question your decisions, wondering why you're walking away from something that seems so good. You may face confusion even from well-meaning friends and family who don't understand why you're stepping away from a seemingly perfect relationship. The hard part is realizing that God's plan for you is unique, and it requires you to make choices that others may not agree with. But these choices are necessary for you to walk in the fullness of the life God has prepared for you. When you choose to follow the narrow gate, to step away from what seems good but isn't best, you're making a statement of trust in God's plan. You're saying, "I believe that what you have for me is better than anything I can create on my own." This is the faith that pleases God, the willingness to walk in obedience even when it doesn't make sense to others. You may be facing this decision right now, standing at the crossroads between the beta timeline and the alpha timeline. The relationship that seems perfect, that feels comfortable, is pulling you toward a path that looks good, but deep down, you know it's not your path. You feel the restlessness in your soul because your spirit is trying to wake you up to the reality that this relationship, while not inherently bad, is holding you back from the life God has destined for you. It's easy to feel the pressure to stay, to keep walking down the wide road, because everyone else approves. But God is calling you to pause, to step back, and to realign yourself with His perfect will. The alpha timeline may not always look as glamorous or as easy, but it's the path that leads to true fulfillment, peace, and purpose. It's the road that God has prepared for you, and it's the one that will lead you to your divine destiny. Making the hard choice to step away from what feels comfortable is never easy, and it often comes with feelings of guilt, doubt, and fear. But remember, the choice you make today will shape the rest of your life. The relationship you're in may seem like the right one, but if it's not aligned with God's plan for your life, it's not the one that will bring you the true fulfillment you seek. Don't be afraid to walk away from the good in order to step into the best. The Alpha timeline is where your true calling awaits, and it's the path that will lead you to the fullness of the life God has designed for you. Trust in His timing, trust in His plan, and trust that the hard choices you make today will lead you to a future beyond your wildest dreams. As you navigate through life, you might find yourself facing what seems like the perfect job opportunity. It's the one you've been waiting for, the position that promises success, stability, and everything you thought you wanted. The salary is right, the benefits are tempting, and the title sounds impressive. It feels like everything has finally fallen into place, and you may even feel a sense of relief wash over you, believing that this is the breakthrough you've been praying for. But as you stand at the threshold of this new opportunity, there's a subtle unease deep inside you, a nagging sense that something isn't quite right. The illusion of success begins to unfold, and what looked like the perfect offer might actually be a trap, one that is leading you further away from your true calling. The danger lies in how this offer fits into the wrong timeline. A timeline that may seem good and comfortable but doesn't align with God's ultimate purpose for your life. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that success, defined by worldly standards, is the same as fulfillment in God's eyes. But this is where the collision occurs. The job that seems perfect may in reality be a detour from the path God has destined for you. The restlessness you feel inside is your spirit recognizing that while this opportunity might bring comfort, it won't bring true peace. You may gain everything that the world values: prestige, money, and status, but at the cost of your divine calling. The question you must ask yourself is, are you willing to take the bait of worldly success? Or will you trust God's plan for something greater? In moments like this, it's essential to differentiate between open doors and ordained doors. Not every door that opens is meant to be walked through. The world often presents opportunities that look like blessings, and from a human perspective, they seem like the right choice. But there's a critical distinction between doors that open because of ambition and those that open because they align with God's will. Doors that open because of ambition often stem from personal desires, cultural pressures, and the need to prove something to the world. These are the doors that we walk through because they make sense in the moment, because they promise success, recognition, and comfort. However, these are not necessarily the doors that lead us to our true purpose. Ordained doors, on the other hand, are those that align with God's timing and divine plan for our lives. They may not always seem as glamorous at first, and they certainly don't come with the same instant gratification as the doors opened by ambition. But they are the ones that lead to lasting fulfillment, peace, and alignment with God's calling. They require faith to step through trust in God's provision and an understanding that success in God's eyes is not defined by outward achievements, but by obedience to His will. Open doors may lead to temporary success, but ordained doors lead to eternal significance. The challenge is recognizing the difference, which can often only be discerned by seeking God's guidance and aligning our hearts with His will. To make this discernment easier, God has given us 3 tests for determining whether an opportunity is truly aligned with His plan for our lives. These tests, passion, peace, and purpose, act as guides, helping us to distinguish between what feels right in the moment and what is actually right for our future. The first test is passion. Passion is the fuel that drives us toward our purpose. When an opportunity aligns with our true calling, it ignites a fire within us. It makes us come alive not just because it's exciting or fun, but because it taps into something deeper, something that resonates with our God-given gifts, desires, and talents. If a career opportunity stirs your passion, not because it's trendy or lucrative, but because it aligns with your God-given purpose, then that's a door worth walking through. If, however, the passion you feel is superficial, driven only by external rewards or societal approval, it's time to pause and reflect. Passion is a sign that you're on the right path, but it must be the kind of passion that resonates with your soul, not just your ego. The second test is peace. Peace is the still, quiet reassurance that God is with you, that you are walking in His will. When you're aligned with God's plan, you feel peace even in the midst of uncertainty. Peace doesn't mean that everything is perfect or that all your questions have been answered. It means that you have a sense of calm, knowing that God is in control and that you're exactly where you need to be. If when considering a job offer or career decision, you feel an unsettling sense of anxiety, fear, or confusion, it's a sign that something isn't right. Anxiety often accompanies decisions that are not in alignment with God's will. Peace, on the other hand, serves as a gentle confirmation that you are walking the path God has set for you. If the job offer brings anxiety rather than peace, even if it seems perfect on paper, it may not be the right opportunity. Remember, God's will always brings peace, even when the situation feels challenging or uncertain. The third test is purpose. Does this opportunity align with your divine calling? Does it take you closer to the person God has called you to be, or does it push you further away? Purpose is the compass that guides every decision. When you are walking in God's purpose, everything you do becomes part of a larger story, a story that unfolds according to God's plan for your life. If a career path takes you further away from your calling, even if it brings success and recognition, it's a path that leads to emptiness. If, on the other hand, a job or career opportunity leads you to embrace your calling, to use your gifts for God's glory, and to make an impact on others, then it's a path that leads to true fulfillment. Purpose isn't just about what you do, it's about why you do it. It's about knowing that your work is meaningful and that it contributes to the greater purpose God has for your life. When you pass the test of purpose, you will know that the job you take is not just a means to an end, but a part of the divine journey God has set before you. Choosing the wrong career path can lead to the neglect of your true calling. When we chase after success defined by the world titles, wealth, and status, we risk losing sight of what really matters. We may become so focused on climbing the career ladder that we forget the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Success in the eyes of the world can be incredibly seductive, but the true measure of success in God's eyes is how closely we align our work with His will. The wrong career path may provide temporary satisfaction, but it will leave you feeling empty because it doesn't align with the deeper calling God has placed on your life. If you've chosen the wrong career path, it's never too late to course correct. It requires courage, faith, and the willingness to trust that God's plan for you is far better than anything you could have imagined on your own. Pausing, reflecting, and seeking God's guidance in your career decisions will lead you back to the path that brings true fulfillment and purpose. Don't be afraid to walk away from the good to step into God's best. His plan for your life will always be far greater than anything the world can offer. The third and most insidious collision course lies within you, your identity. It's often the most difficult collision to recognize because it happens so gradually, so quietly, that you don't even realize it until it's too late. The danger of becoming someone you're not is not about a sudden change, but a slow, incremental shift that happens over time. At first, it feels like small compromises, little decisions that seem harmless. But over time, these choices begin to add up, and before you know it, you're living a version of yourself that doesn't align with who God called you to be. It's the slow fading of the person you were meant to become. You start to adopt labels and roles that others have placed on you based on expectations, comparisons, or societal pressures, until you find yourself answering to someone else's name, someone else's version of success. The person you once were, the person full of passion, purpose, and divine calling, becomes a shadow covered by layers of compromise and self-doubt. You start to wonder how you got here, how you became so far removed from the vibrant person God originally created. This collision course is dangerous because it doesn't involve an external enemy. It's a battle within yourself, a fight for the identity that God uniquely gave you. And when you lose sight of who you truly are, everything else, your relationships, your career, your purpose, becomes misaligned. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are. And if you lose sight of who you are, you'll never fully walk in the destiny that God designed for you. This gradual loss of self is often accompanied by a deep spiritual numbness. You may feel disconnected, unsure of where you're headed, and unsure of why you've lost the fire that once burned within you. Spiritual numbness happens when you compromise your decisions, when you delay obedience, and when you ignore the inner promptings of the Holy Spirit. You might go through the motions attending church, praying, reading scripture, but it all feels mechanical. It feels like a routine you follow without the same passion or connection that you once had. The decisions you make seem logical and safe, but they no longer bring life to your spirit. The numbness sets in slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you realize that you've been spiritually paralyzed. You don't feel the same urgency, the same hunger, or the same drive that you once did. This is the result of years of small compromises, delayed obedience, and ignoring the call of God in your life. You've been living in the comfort of what feels good enough. But in doing so, you've drifted away from the path that leads to your divine purpose. The numbness is a warning sign, a signal that you've become disconnected from your true self and from God's plan for you. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of life, the pressures of work, family, and society, and forget that God has a specific purpose for your life. But when you begin to feel numb, when the passion fades, it's time to pause and reconnect with the truth of who you are in Christ. Rediscovering your true identity is the key to breaking free from this collision course. The first step is to stop and listen to the voice of God, to pause long enough to hear Him call you back to your true self. The world and circumstances may have imposed labels and expectations on you, but those are not the names God has for you. God knows you better than you know yourself. He sees the person He created you to be, and He's calling you to step into that identity once again. The name that God calls you is the only one that matters. It is the name that reflects the fullness of your divine calling. The name that carries with it the authority and purpose that only God can give. You are not defined by the opinions of others, the mistakes of your past, or the pressures of your current circumstances. You are defined by the love and calling of God. When you embrace the name that God has given you, you step into the fullness of your identity, an identity that is rooted in His love, His purpose, and His power. It's time to stop living as someone else's version of who you should be and start embracing who God has called you to be. This is where true freedom and fulfillment lie. Your identity is not something to be discovered in the world. It is something that is revealed through your relationship with God. And once you reconnect with that truth, you will begin to see everything else in your life fall into place. The importance of pausing cannot be overstated. You cannot rediscover your true identity if you are constantly moving forward at full speed, drowning out the voice of God with the noise of life. You need to stop, to be still, and to listen. God is calling you to reconnect with who you are meant to become. This is not just about finding a better job or fixing a relationship. It's about aligning yourself with the person God created you to be. And to do that, you need to pause long enough to hear His voice, to quiet the distractions, and to allow God to speak to the deepest parts of your soul. When you pause, you create space for God to reveal your true identity, the one that has been there all along, waiting for you to embrace it. The numbness you've felt will begin to lift, and you'll start to feel alive again. Alive in your purpose, alive in your calling, and alive in your true self. The road ahead will become clear, and you will begin to walk confidently in the identity that God has given you. It won't be easy, and it won't be immediate, but the first step is to pause, to stop long enough to listen, to give God permission to reawaken the person He created you to be. Only then can you fully embrace the life He has planned for you, a life filled with purpose, peace, and divine alignment. This is your moment to rediscover who you are meant to become. It's time to pause, reflect, and step into the fullness of your true identity in Christ. The Sacred Pause Protocol is a divine strategy designed by God to recalibrate your life and realign your soul with His purpose. It's not a quick fix or a momentary relief. It's a deep, transformative process that takes time and requires you to lean into God's timing and guidance. The protocol unfolds in 3 distinct stages, each serving a crucial purpose in your spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being. These stages work together to bring healing, clarity, and alignment to every aspect of your life, your relationships, your career, and most importantly, your identity. This sacred pause is not a passive waiting. It's an active process of transformation that God uses to reshape your life and position you for the next season of His calling. By walking through each stage, you'll unlock a deeper understanding of who you are, what you are called to do, and how to step into the fullness of your divine destiny. The first stage of the Sacred Pause Protocol is the shutdown phase, lasting from days 1 to 3. This stage is all about disconnecting from external distractions in order to listen for God's voice. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with noise, notifications, emails, social media updates, and endless streams of information. It's easy to become numb to the subtle promptings of God amidst all the distractions. The shutdown phase is your chance to step away from the noise and create a space of silence where God can speak to you clearly. It's not just about turning off your phone or avoiding distractions. It's about intentionally disconnecting from everything that keeps you from hearing God's still, small voice. This stage requires obedience and trust, as it's not always comfortable. In the beginning, you may feel a sense of withdrawal, as if you're missing out on something. Your mind will race with to-do lists, anxieties, and doubts. But that's precisely the point. The shutdown phase is designed to help you silence the external noise and give God the room to speak to your soul. In this stillness, you will begin to hear the things you've been too distracted to hear. You'll reconnect with the deeper longings of your heart, and your spirit will begin to align itself with God's purposes. The external noise can drown out the whispers of God, but when you choose to pause, you make space for His voice to rise above the chaos. Once the external distractions are silenced, the next stage of the Sacred Pause Protocol begins surgery. From days 4 to 7, this phase is focused on internal healing and the removal of emotional and spiritual obstacles that have accumulated over time. After disconnecting from external distractions, you'll begin to face the internal clutter, the wounds, false beliefs, and deep-seated fears that have shaped your life and decisions. These obstacles may not always be visible, but they are deeply embedded in your spirit. And they are the things that prevent you from fully walking in God's will. The surgery phase is not an easy one. It's a time of deep introspection and confrontation. It may bring up past hurts, unhealed wounds, regrets, and shame. You may feel the weight of unresolved emotions that you've been carrying for years. But this phase is crucial for your healing. Just as surgery removes tumors or unhealthy tissue, this stage removes the spiritual and emotional blockages that are hindering your growth. You may experience discomfort as God starts to heal you, but that discomfort is part of the healing process. The key during this stage is to surrender to God's work. You don't need to fix yourself. God is doing the work. He is the divine surgeon, and you are the patient. This phase requires you to trust God to remove what isn't serving you, even if it's painful. The wounds that God is addressing are the ones you may have forgotten about or buried deep within you. But they are not forgotten by Him. As He removes these obstacles, you'll feel lighter, freer, and more aligned with His will. The wounds you've carried for so long will be healed, and the lies you've believed will be replaced with truth. This is a critical step in the process because until these emotional and spiritual blockages are healed, you cannot fully step into the life God has for you. After the internal healing has begun, the final stage of the Sacred Pause protocol is recalibration, which spans days 8 through 21. This phase is about downloading new desires, vision, and purpose that align with God's will. Once the external distractions have been silenced and the internal obstacles removed, God can begin to rewire your heart, mind, and spirit for the next season of your life. This is a time of spiritual renewal and realignment. In this stage, you will begin to receive fresh revelation about who you are and what you're called to do. God will begin to reprogram your desires so that they align with His heart. You may start to feel a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper hunger for the things of God. The dreams and visions you had before will begin to shift, and you'll begin to see a clearer picture of the life God has designed for you. In this recalibration process, God installs new desires that reflect His will for your life. You'll begin to crave the things that align with your true calling, and you'll find that your focus shifts from worldly success to eternal significance. Your vision will become sharper, and you'll start to see opportunities and possibilities that were once hidden from you. The recalibration phase is not just about receiving new insights. It's about aligning your entire being, your heart, mind, and spirit with God's divine plan. The new desires and vision He gives you will lead to a greater sense of fulfillment as you step more fully into your purpose. But this stage requires obedience. As you receive the recalibrated vision, you must act on it. God will not give you new direction just to let it sit idle. You are called to take action on the vision He is placing in your heart, to move in faith, even when the full picture isn't yet clear. The purpose of each of these stages, shutdown, surgery, and recalibration, is to bring transformation to every area of your life. In the shutdown phase, you disconnect from external distractions to hear God's voice. In the surgery phase, you allow God to remove the emotional and spiritual obstacles that have been blocking your growth. And in the recalibration phase, God downloads new desires, vision, and purpose that align with His will for your life. Together, these stages work in harmony to bring you into alignment with your true calling. As you move through these phases, you will experience transformation in your relationships, career, and identity. In your relationships, you'll begin to see which connections align with God's purpose and which ones need to be released. In your career, you'll have greater clarity about your true calling and how to pursue it in a way that honors God. And in your identity, you'll reconnect with who God created you to be, shedding the false versions of yourself that have been shaped by the world. The Sacred Pause protocol is not just about waiting for something to change. It's about actively participating in the transformation God wants to bring to your life. By walking through these stages with obedience and trust, You'll step into the fullness of your divine calling and experience a life that is aligned with God's perfect will. This is the path to true fulfillment, peace, and purpose. As you move through this process of transformation, you will undoubtedly encounter resistance. This resistance doesn't come from the outside world. Alone, it rises from within. The voices of doubt, fear, and insecurity will begin to speak up, trying to convince you that pausing is a mistake, that waiting is wasteful, and that you're losing momentum. These voices are not your own. They are the whispers of resistance trying to keep you from stepping into the fullness of your calling. Understanding and identifying these voices is crucial because only when you recognize them for what they are can you fully overcome them. The first voice that will try to derail your progress is the voice of productivity culture. In a world that equates worth with doing, accomplishing, and achieving, the idea of pausing seems counterproductive. Society tells you that every minute must be filled with action, that if you're not constantly moving forward, you're falling behind. This voice will make you feel guilty for stopping, as though doing nothing means you're failing. But here's the truth. Pausing is not a sign of laziness. It's a sign of wisdom. In God's kingdom, success is not measured by constant activity. It's measured by alignment with His will. When you pause to listen to God, you're not wasting time, you're investing in the direction of your future. God's plan for you requires stillness, because in the stillness, you hear His voice clearly. Pausing isn't about doing nothing. It's about making sure that when you do move, you're moving in the right direction. The voice of productivity will try to make you feel as though you're losing ground. But remember, the most productive thing you can do is align yourself with God's perfect timing. Trust that He is preparing you during this pause, equipping you for the next step. The second voice you will encounter is the voice of comparison. It's easy to fall into the trap of looking around at others and wondering if you're missing out on something. You may see people around you advancing, achieving, and succeeding, while you seem to be stuck in a holding pattern. This voice whispers that you're being left behind, that others are moving forward while you're standing still. But comparison is a thief. It steals your peace, your joy, and your focus. The truth is, everyone's journey is unique, and God has a specific plan for you. The timing of your life isn't the same as anyone else's. When you look at others and measure your success against theirs, you forget that God's plan for your life is tailor-made for you. The voice of comparison distracts you from God's path and lures you into believing that you are missing out or falling short. But the truth is, God has you exactly where you need to be. His timing is perfect, and when it's your time to step forward, the doors He has opened for you will be ready. There's no need to rush or compete with others. The pause is necessary for you to recalibrate, realign, and step into the destiny God has prepared for you. Trust that your life is unfolding according to His perfect plan, and you don't need to compare your progress to anyone else's. The third voice of resistance is financial fear. This voice will tell you that you can't afford to pause, that you need to keep pushing forward to provide for yourself and your family. It will whisper that stopping could put your security at risk, that the world won't wait for you to catch up. The fear of not having enough, whether it's money, resources, or opportunities, will try to convince you that pausing is a luxury you can't afford. But here's the truth. God is your provider, and He is not limited by your circumstances. Pausing in obedience to God's will does not jeopardize your financial future, it secures it. God knows your needs better than you do, and He promises to provide for you when you trust Him. When you pause and align yourself with His will, you open the door for His provision to flow into your life. Trusting God with your finances is not about taking reckless risks. It's about recognizing that He is the one who has the power to supply all your needs. The voice of financial fear tries to bind you to the world system, where success is measured by accumulation and constant movement. But God's economy works differently. It's not about what you can do in your own strength. It's about trusting Him to do what only He can do. The pause is not a lack of faith in your ability to provide. It's a declaration of faith in God's ability to provide for you in ways that are far beyond your understanding. Another voice you will face is the voice of people's expectations. This voice will tell you that you're letting others down, that your family, friends, and colleagues are counting on you to keep moving forward, to keep achieving. People may not understand your pause. They may see it as laziness or indecision. The pressure to meet the expectations of others can be overwhelming, especially when those around you are expecting you to succeed, to perform, and to fulfill your role in their lives. But the truth is, you were not called to live for the approval of others. You were called to live for the approval of God. The expectations of others are not the compass by which you should navigate your life. People may want you to move faster to achieve more, but their plans are not God's plans. When you pause in obedience to God, you may disappoint people, but you are aligning yourself with a higher purpose. God sees your heart, and His approval is what matters most. Trust that when you obey God's calling, He will provide the wisdom, the resources, and the support you need. The fear of letting others down can hold you back from stepping into the fullness of your calling. But remember, God has equipped you for the journey He has planned for you. The pause is not about disappointing others. It's about honoring God's timing for your life. Finally, the voice of pride will resist the pause. This voice sounds like your own inner thoughts, telling you that you don't need to stop, that you've got everything under control. It whispers that pausing makes you look weak, like you're not strong enough to handle the pressure, like you're failing or giving up. This voice tries to convince you that stopping means you're not capable, not strong, and not worthy. But pride is one of the most dangerous forces that keeps us from obedience. It disguises itself as strength and independence, but in reality, it's a mask for fear and insecurity. The truth is, pausing is not weakness, it's strength. The strength to surrender, to trust God with the unknown, and to stop striving in your own power. Jesus said, "My strength is made perfect in weakness," 2 Corinthians 12:9. The pause is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of trust. Trust in God's plan. Trust in His timing, and trust that He knows what's best for you. Pausing requires humility to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, that you can't do it on your own, and that God's way is the best way. Pride will always resist the pause because it believes it can handle everything without help. But when you lay down your pride, you allow God to step in and carry you forward in His power, not yours. Overcoming these voices is not easy, but it's necessary for your spiritual growth and alignment with God's will. These voices will try to pull you away from the pause to convince you that moving forward is the only option. But remember, when you decide to pause, you are making a declaration of trust in God's timing, provision, and guidance. The voices of resistance will grow louder, but as you learn to recognize them for what they are, you will be able to silence them with the truth of God's Word. Focus on God's approval, not the approval of others. Trust in His provision, not the fear of scarcity. Step into humility, not pride, and know that when you pause in obedience, you are positioning yourself to receive the fullness of God's plan for your life. As we come to the end of this journey, it's important to reflect on the 3 collision courses we've discussed and how the sacred pause protocol will guide you to avoid them. The first collision course relationships warns you against getting caught in connections that, though seemingly perfect, are misaligned with God's divine plan for your life. These relationships, while good, can lead you down a path that distracts you from your true calling. The second collision course is in your career and calling, where the temptation of success and the allure of worldly accomplishments may cause you to settle for less than God's best for your life. And the third collision course lies within your own identity, where you risk becoming someone you're not, forgetting the person God created you to be. These three collision courses are real, and the consequences of walking into them could be far-reaching, impacting not just your current situation, but your entire destiny. This is why the sacred pause protocol is so vital. It's not just a moment of rest. It's a divine invitation to realign, to listen, and to step into the fullness of God's calling for your life. By pausing and walking through the stages of shutdown, surgery, and recalibration, you are actively choosing the path of alignment, avoiding the wrong timelines, and positioning yourself to step into the best version of the life God has prepared for you. Now is the time to act. The window of opportunity is closing, and the decision to pause is a powerful one. Don't let the distractions, fears, and voices of resistance keep you from making the choice that will set the course for your future. Pausing isn't a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of trust. Trust in God's timing, trust in His provision, and trust in His guidance. It's not always easy to step away from the busyness of life to let go of the world's demands, but it's in this pause that you will find clarity, peace, and divine direction. Trust the process and allow God to recalibrate your life. Align yourself with the Alpha timeline, the timeline that God has specifically designed for you. When you align with His will, you will experience a life full of purpose, peace, and fulfillment. Don't let the fear of missing out, the pressure of comparison, or the pull of productivity keep you from stepping into the best life God has for you. The pause is your moment to recalibrate, to listen to God's voice, and to step into the next chapter of your divine destiny. As we close, I want to offer a prayer for you, the chosen one, as you embark on this journey of obedience and transformation. Father, I thank you for the chosen one, for the calling you've placed on their life, and for the divine purpose that is unfolding in this moment. I pray that you would surround them with your divine protection, guiding them through this sacred pause. I declare that as they pause, they will hear your voice clearly, and every distraction and voice of resistance will fall silent. I pray for the strength to obey, even when it doesn't make sense, the courage to walk away from the wrong relationships, the wrong career, and the wrong identity, and the faith to step into the timeline you've designed for them. I declare that every step they take from this moment forward will be aligned with your will, that they will experience breakthroughs, divine provision, and the fullness of their purpose. Protect them from the temptation to settle for anything less than your best. Seal their commitment to this journey and empower them to walk in obedience, knowing that as they trust you, you will lead them into a life of purpose and fulfillment. In Jesus' name, Amen. This is the moment to pause, to realign, and to step into the divine destiny that awaits you. Trust the process, take the pause seriously, and watch as God opens doors, heals your heart, and prepares you for the incredible journey ahead. You are on the verge of something life-changing, and with God's guidance, you will walk into the fullness of His plan for your life. The best is yet to come.